Hey guys, Elizabeth here on the Dandysoap Channel, and today's DIY we are going to make a porch sitter. Now, commonly this has been done with scarecrows and various things, and since I'm into snowmen, I'm going to make mine a snowman. So here are the supplies you will need if you duplicate this snowman. You will need like a wreath or a wreath form. I have brought along some garland as well to thicken up my wreath. You'll need a set of lights. All of these items can be purchased from the Dollar Tree. This is the battery operated LEDs because of my setup here at home. I do not have electrical power where I'm going to have my snowman on the porch. A letter opener because we're going to need that to lift off these pieces. Some wooden dowels or craft sticks. We'll need those to fasten our things together. You'll need like some scrap clothing, old shirt, old blue jeans and stuff like that because we're going to put clothes on him. And then some blocks of wood. This will help serve as a weight to keep it setting upright. You can determine based on your gravitational pull on your signs once you put them together what you'll need. I have the snowman. You can still get a snowman signage from the Dollar Tree. This is one of the older ones, and they have newer ones with a bigger top hat. And then this sign that's round and it has a square down at the bottom. Or you could just have just a square rectangular sign. Both of these came from the Dollar Tree. This one was this year's selection, and this one was actually last year's selection. You'll need your hot glue gun, of course, and you may want to have some Elmer's glue simply because it's going to serve as our wood glue. So we'll use wood glue in addition to our hot glue. You can use E6000 if you want to. And then all the things that you would commonly adorn a wreath with if you want, or you can just put lights on it because it's almost going to look like he's tangled in tinsel. And so we'll just work it out as we go along. So let me clear off the table and let's get started. The first thing we want to do is, of course, remove any of the ties and strings and tags from off of our signs. And then I am using a letter opener to lift off the pieces. And I'm going to be removing this hat, the carrot nose, and the bow tie. Now, I will reuse these items. I will probably just flip this one over and paint the back of it to put back on the hat. But this sign, guys, the only thing you have to worry about is the tie. Because no one's going to see this. We're actually going to glue this snowman's head to this sign, and that's where the ice cream sticks come into play. So maybe a foam core board that you're forming into a snowman, by all means. You can also use the back of this sign, but you might want to take some sandpaper to sand off the sticker if you're not able to remove it. So just go ahead and remove your parts and pieces or decide if you're going to use the back side. Now I'm using my Waverly chalk paint, and the first thing I want to do is put a base coat on this snowman. Now guys, don't be worried about this down here where the bow was, because it's going to be glued to the other board and it will not be seen. And I'm just bringing this old looking paint back to life by putting a fresh coat of paint on it. As I call it, and y'all have heard me before, it's lipstick and rouge. And I just love that term, lipstick and rouge, because that's what painting does, is it puts a little bit of lipstick and rouge, and a fresh coat of paint just makes everything look great. Throw some pumpkin onto this carrot for his nose, because we'll be putting that back on. Waverly, which is black, guys. And I'm going to do his hat brim. The opposite side is corrugated, and that stuff chips off. It just breaks really easy. And that is why I'm doing the back side of this hat brim. We're going to let that set and dry. Next thing that we can do is we can detail out the nose, because this Waverly chalk, it dries really fast. Or we can go ahead and do his face. So while everything is drying, I'm going to put some details on this nose. And then, at this time, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and hook up your glue gun if you don't have it going already. Just putting a little bit of detail on this carrot. With carrots being a root, they genuinely have a little bit of stripes on them, and I'm just kind of warming this color up in the background to make it look a little more vintagey and doing some shading to it. I do the peace sign method. You're going to put your finger in his eyes, and directly in line with your peace sign is the same distance between the eyes to the center of the nose, and the nose is center of the two eyes, and then the same distance between the eyes to the nose should also be the distance between the nose to the mouth. And then you can, if you can still see what your snowman had, you can follow those if you want to duplicate the smile that he's got on his face. And I'm just taking the back side of my paintbrush and I put it in the black paint down in it and just touch the black paint and then touch and just put your dots and be gentle, you know, just go ahead and put the paint on there and do the dots, and that's all there is to it. Okay guys, I have the Sharpie paint markers. I don't know if you've ever used them, but they have a ball on the inside, and you just shake them up and you press down on the flint tip, and that floods the tip so that it's ready to paint. And I just basically am just going to trace out the eye that was already there. And as I said, you just hold it down and that floods it with the paint. I bought during the fall was some buffalo check paper. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to Mod Podge him a hat, and then I'll put the brim back on. So at this point I'm just getting a measurement as to where I need to cut my square, and then I will take and cut that and Mod Podge it onto his hat. I want to kind of age him up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put his nose back on, and that can be drying while I'm cutting this out and putting the Mod Podge on. Now if you guys remember, I always told you dampen your brush or sponge before you put on Mod Podge, and you get less of this fizz and foaming, and you get a better coverage and a smoother coating. And even though that's got a little bit of that felt, and I used my rough sanding sponge, the rough side, to kind of sand away the difference on that felt, and it's going to cover up that hole up there as well where the hanger was on the original sign. So I'm just trying to get a coat on here. I'm not worried about trying to make it completely smooth, because I know that the felt was there before. But the Mod Podge will cling to that paper and lay it down for me. And then I'm just going to put my little piece of paper on here. And remember, I'm more concerned up here because the brim's going to go here. So I'm not worried about that part. And just pressing that down. And once I get it on there, I'll put another coat of Mod Podge on it to add a white dot to his eyes. So if you guys use the paint marker like I did, then you will let it dry. And then if you want to put the little white dot, we're just going to use the back side of our paintbrush handle to do that. And as you can, and I will take the difference of this paper off once that Mod Podge has dried. And just work your Mod Podge in. Make sure it's good and smooth off, and that you've got it coated really good. You can usually see a white haze, and that way you know you've got it on there. Now, for those of you who use the Waverly chalk paint, like I did, the best thing to coat down here with is the Mod Podge as your sealer if you do not have the wax, the Waverly wax. And then that way, that will seal in this color and make sure it doesn't smear. Before I Mod Podge it, I do want to age it up a little bit on the handle of my brush. And we're just going to dot his eyes. And just very small. And that's all we need. Okay, now I'm just making me some watery ink here. Just making it really, really watery because I wet my brush. And then I barely tapped my brush into the paint. And they'll just make this real, real watery black. And I just knock off the difference on my paper over here. And then I'm going to kind of brush about his face. And I'm just kind of brushing back. And I did hit that white. But that's okay. That's the idea. We want to make it look natural. And where I used a paint marker, guys, I can take and fix that real easy. Go back and I'll hit that with my paint marker to fix it. So I'm not really worried about it. Once you get some of that black out of it, it works a lot better. Now I've got a coat of Mod Podge on my snowman, and that will seal in my paint. So, and I did fix his eye that I messed up earlier when I was brushing and carrying on and aging him a little bit. And so the Mod Podge will seal in the paint and assure that when he's outside on the porch and in the dampness, he'll be okay. I also Mod Podged my brim and repaired it a little bit. And every little top hat on snowman needs a little bit of greenery. So at this time, you may want to be considering how you're going to adorn your wreath. The main reason is because when it's outside and there's no lights burning on your wreath, you don't want it to be just all plain and basic and everything. And I may actually resize my wreath. It's going to be more of a 12-inch wreath versus a 18. And looking at the wreath, if you pay close attention, you will find a place to where, I'm going to try to show you guys this. It has extra little metal pieces right there. That is where they have put this wreath together. And so you do not want to go near that. And I'm going to basically cut 6 inches out of this wreath. So I'm going directly down from that area. And I'm going to just take my needle nose pliers. Here's the cutting side. And I am going to take and cut that. And then basically, just like anything else, I'm going to measure out 6 inches on this and then make another cut, which is going to put me right in this area. And I'm going to cut that piece. I want the most of that metal that I can get so that I'm going to come up as close as I can to this next piece in order to get that. Now, I've taken that piece and just set it aside. You can use this as greenery on other things, so I don't throw away anything. I'm going to take my wreath, and you can take 2 of these little pieces and tie them together if that works for you. Or you can actually take some floral wire if you want to, and that helps as well. I'm just wanting to put the wreath together and hold it, and see, just that simple, we've got our wreath down to a 12-inch wreath. End up having to put some of the garland. I don't know if you guys thought to buy any or something to fill this up, to fill it out. And that's what I mean. You want to adorn this because when he's sitting on the porch and the lights are not burning and it's daytime or just any time, you want him to still be inviting and look cute. And that's why we want to kind of decorate our wreath up a little bit and then put our lights on it as well. So I usually try to decorate mine up if I'm going to before I put my lights on. That way if I ever have to change the lights out, I can get to them without having to pretty much demolish the wreath. That is if it's personally knock on wood, have not had a problem with my lights going out and stopping working. I had gotten the garland from Dollar Tree, the 15-foot garland, and that will help fill it out, and so it will look, it just needs to look fuller to me. It just really looks so scrawny at this point. These are flowing this way, so it's just as easy or just as well to try and go that same way, and just to make it look a little more fuller and to fill it up, and it does look a lot better, a lot better. Now, it just would not be Christmas without some bells. You gotta have some bells. I do these red ones, and I'm not sure if I'm going to tie red into this or not. I'm more of a silver blue, but red's okay. The good thing about these guys is we can manipulate these. And manipulating them, and what I mean by that, guys, is let me find this, and you can take that off, and we can glue it directly down, and we're not going to be worried about it because we can't actually hook it. This whole chain is plastic and it's together, so there's only 7 of these ornaments on here, and this chain I could use for something else, or take these pieces of chain, cut them, and this is plastic. You could glue that onto a handmade ornament and cut the chain and just hook them together, and then you would have a hanging ornament or ornament hanger. So I'm going to save all this chain, and this will go into my little box of supplies and tidbits that I pulled off of other decorations, and I just save all that stuff. They're using this like garland, but these look great atop ornaments as well. So if I just wanted the silver, I could easily slide those off and string them to whatever I wanted. But save all these little pieces that come off of it, these little acorn tops. They are fantabulous. Just wanted to show you guys how easy you can manipulate these. So now I've finished manipulating the bells, and I've selected only the blue glittered, or the blue silver glittered ornaments from out of that pack, and I'm going to set all of those in the wreath along with the red ones, and just set that aside for the time being. Put the piece. So now we have our snowman, and our Mod Podge has dried, and we need to cut the difference off. A knife that would work good, or even a razor knife. And the one thing that I have that I've gotten from Dollar General that I recommend y'all get is one of these cutting boards, the plastic one. And then that way, when you're having to trim off something, you've got something to place it on, and you don't have to cut up your mat unless you have a forgiving mat or a self-healing mat, as they call it. And as you can see, it just easily trimmed right off. And the Mod Podge just makes life easier. And the X-Acto knife just cuts that paper right off there with a breeze. Don't need a lot, but I just like the glue assurance, as I tell y'all. Glue assurance. This hat back into place. Need to be put a little bit down in that corner, just so I make sure there's a good contact going there. I hate for that thing to come undone. I don't think it would, but it never hurts to have glue assurance, as I tell y'all. Glue insurance. Well, he's a snowman. He's got to have something on his hat. He needs a few little sprigs. Now, that wreath piece that we cut a while ago, we may be able to use some of these pieces for his hat. And just go in there and get a few pieces off of this. That way you use every little piece counts. Just cut some of that away and see what we're going to use of it. That's what you can do, is just trying to twist it. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And put this little short piece here. looking a little fussy. So I got some of my berries, guys, and I put 3 right there, and I left the wire on those. And these, they got just a little bit of wire on them, and I'm cutting it off. And I'm just gluing these on there. I have some leftover burlap and some buffalo check ribbon, and I think I'm going to use both right there. I'm wanting to use some of this buffalo check, but I'm wanting the black section and not this. And I don't want to waste all this ribbon, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this section, because I need just a small amount. The red is going to be too much, I would think, that if I cut that, and if I just use the black part of it through there, maybe, because... So since we've got our snowman situated, and we've got the brim of his hat all fixed up and looking like what we want, we're going to set him aside. And the ribbon, or I can use the bell, or I can glue it to one of these. And that might be the easier. I'll even try that. Like put it on the side here, just to stage it, and so that it stays in place. And then I'm just going to glue that here and just kind of put them in like these little bundles about the reef. Just something a little different than what everybody else does. And that's the whole idea, is I don't want to be identical to everybody else. I want to, you know, give y'all something different to look at. Give you, you know, let you expand your mind a little bit and try some different things. Now I wanted to show you guys another trick that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to actually take the center of my piece, and I'm going to glue the part of that A to my ribbon, and that will help to anchor it and keep it in place, so to speak, so it doesn't shift around on me. And then I will tie that onto the reef. Use out of this little bit of ribbon, that's the best way I know how, is to just tie them onto the bells and glue it on. And that way that little bit of ribbon will last me to do this tiny reef. And it might be your DIY, and you're going to kind of see something going in a different direction, and you're thinking, that just isn't working. So at this time, I'm going to let my snowman go. Now, I've been thinking about poinsettias. Red always puts me in mind of poinsettias. And poinsettias are unique because their blooms are actually their own leaves. Where the blooms are is in the center of a poinsettia. That's the actual bloom of a poinsettia. But when you see their petals, it's actually their leaves that have turned into red, and over the years they've been able to hybrid them into white and salmon and blush and different colors. With that in mind, I think I'm going to teach you guys how to make a fabric poinsettia, and I'm going to place that on my reef. We still have to and show you guys how to make a fabric poinsettia. It is so easy. Now, the trick of a poinsettia is there's 7 petals on the outskirts, which is the larger part, and there's 7 petals on the inner part. I'm calling them petals, guys, but they're actually leaves, but I'm going to call them petals for the sake of this, making this poinsettia with ribbon. So you have 7 outer petals, you have 7 inner petals, and then you have the blooms in the center. And I'm tying in all of the ribbon colors that we've been using on our snowman. See, tie all this in together. So with this one, we are going to use some of it as well. So at the corner here, and you don't have to take the wire out of this one if you don't want. And I'm just tying these in. You're going to go in almost like a circular motion. And then starting from that same corner, I hope you guys can make this out pretty good. Let me move the buffalo check. And from that same corner, you're going to go out and come inward. And you're going to make 7 of those petals, just like that. So now that I've got this cut over here, just start in at this side and go outward and just kind of cut that off. And the same thing here. Go here, come about, and try to make them as close to the same size as you possibly can. You know, be consistent with your cuts, and you should get it pretty good. So, because we're going the whole length of this 2.5-inch ribbon. All right, so I've got that one. Now I'm coming back, and I'm doing the same thing again. And then here again. And I think you guys get the idea of what I'm doing here. And these petals do not have to be perfect, guys. Remember, we're trying to make it look just nifty and cute and get all our ribbon in there. So we have 4. I'm going to cut the remainder. I'll be right back. Got 7 of our black and white buffalo check. Now we're going to do the red. And you do the same thing. And we need these to be slightly smaller. And this ribbon is just a tad bit smaller. If we need to, we can take the wire out of it to make it smaller. But as you see, I'm not going out as far. When I'm cutting these, I'm coming in a little bit closer. And that's what I'm trying to do, is get this to be smaller. Out of this one, I have 5 that I've cut already. And I want to tie in the burlap. So I'm going to take this burlap, and I believe what I'm going to do with that is we're going to make these into like small little rounds. So in half. Let's try it that way. We're going to take our corner and we're going to roll it in. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make our little buds in our poinsettia. Okay? Which is our flowers. The actual flowers. And we can fold that in half. See what I just did? I rolled it up and I folded it in half. And just set those aside. So we did the same thing here. We're going to take the corner. We're going to roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it with your thumbs or fingers. Just roll it into a cone shape. And then we're going to fold it. Alright? And so do, say 5 to 7 of those. And I'm going to do petals cut out. Now, what I have here is an empty spool piece, and I'm just going to pull off one side of that because I need it to something to asphyxiate my flower on. Now, right here, you can kind of see where that ribbon, see that little crease right there? I just want that little inner circle. I don't need this outer circle. As you can see, I'm just going to cut that out. I just need something to anchor my little flower to. We're just going to take a piece of that and kind of fill in that center right there. Just put us a dot here and a dot there. Dot everywhere. Alright. Just something to cover up that hole. Now, you can layer these alternately if you want to. Or you can put the black and white check on the bottom and then the red on the top. The main thing is we've got to get these situated. So we got 3 there. Sometimes it's just better to lay them on there and then start moving them around. And this is pre-glue. We are pre-staging before we glue, y'all. Because we can always trim off the edges and the tips. So see how we want it to look there? Has everybody got that? So you pretty much have to kind of stage it and figure out. Now, everything's going to go to the center, so don't overthink it. Just know that all those points are going to go in that center. Now, the in-betweens is where you can put your red. Is everybody with me? Hope everybody sees how this beauty is coming together. And then you're going to have those in your in-betweens. And everything, once again, going to the center. Just like that. Everybody got that? Now we have our beautiful, colorful strip poinsettia. Now these are going to be our centers. And if we need to, once we get all that situated, we will be able to get these in there and make them look right and stand them up and so forth. So everybody just get your petals glued on. And I'm going to gently lift these off. Okay, so I'm going to do this first go around with you real quick. And I put a dot of glue in that center that I glued in the board. And just put that in there. And then start getting them on there as quickly as you can while your glue is hot. And they'll generally kind of shape for you if you're being consistent with getting them on there. And please, guys, don't overthink this thing. Just get them on there, for heaven's sakes. Don't stress yourself about it. I mean, goodness, you learn from yourself. What you screwed up with the first time, you'll make darn sure you don't do it again. That's all I know. That's what I do. I just let it happen. I mean, shucks, what can you do? I mean, that's what the world's about. And see how I was able to kind of shift those while that glue is still a little soft? Okay, so, if I let the glue dry, I might can get my finger unstuck. Okay, so see how I just kind of pulled and spread it and got them shifted around? Now, put another glob of glue in the center again. And try not to overdo it with the glob of glue, guys. Try to pull it out a little bit because we still got to put our blooms in there. And we got to get all that situated. And I'm just trying to get them on there as fast as I can. That's all I'm worried about. Getting them on there. I'm going to do the same over here. Okay, now I got my petals on there and glue all over my fingers. Okay, so everybody's with me. I think everybody's still staying tuned through this. I'm trying to get glue off my fingers, guys. Okay, so now we need to kind of get our little blooms going so we can put our gob of glue in there, and you might have to glue more as you go because you got to hold to these and let them get the glue on them. And they may just look like a big glob by the time we get all these positioned on there. So, might have to go back and do a little glue check per se. And just watch your fingers when you do what I did right there. I didn't get my finger, but I was certainly close. Because that sure would have hurt. And just kind of hold those in place. I'm making a mess, guys, but that's DIY. we get to do that. All right, so I'm going to hold them in there. So I got all 5 of them in there. I know you can't tell the difference between one and the other right now, but it fills it in, makes it look a little bit better. Might have to go back and put some glue around that to make it stay where it should. And I guess I could have made them smaller. I could have took the easy way, guys, and made it smaller. Alrighty. So let me just go around and make sure you spread the glue out of its pile, please. Don't leave that glob of glue there. I just think it shows up and you can just see it. If you're not, and then trying to get it off of there because it's on that fabric, you end up fraying everything. And so I'm just kind of using a nozzle to push in there. Try to push all that burlap. My blooms. Trying to push all my blooms in there, guys. Get them all going in the same little place. And it's going to take a few minutes for that to dry and cool off because there's so much glue on there between the petals and putting the blooms on there too. All right. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and I'll be back. Now, gang, I've laid my poinsettia up there on the reef, and I hope you guys like my poinsettia. I hope you liked that and enjoyed learning it. And I am putting huge amount on that whole disc, just spreading it out on the back of there, and I want to get that on the reef. And once I get this situated, and make sure you kind of move kind of quick, make sure all your little petals is standing up. Like I said, you could leave the wire in the ends if you wanted to. Some of these do have a wire, and which I'll probably trim out, and just put your poinsettia on there, and you can make you one for anything you want, or make you a whole wreath of them. That would be beautiful. You can make them all different. You can be like, do some of them all of the red and black, and then do some of them black and white. That would be so cute. And but I just want to show you something a little bit different. Okay, so we have our reef done. We have not put the lights on it, so let's move on and at least assemble our snowman. And then for me, a lot of times what I do is I go ahead and I mark it, just so when I pick it up and go to get that glue gun and glue it, I know exactly where that glue needs to be and exactly where I'm going to put that head. Glue, guys, and the Waverly chalk paints, and I use the Sharpie marker, and I do have hyperlinks in the description below. You can look down there and it'll show you, and it'll take you to my affiliate link directly. And then or if you're questioning any supplies that I'm used outside of the Dollar Tree, and they should be named on there, any products that you see on my DIY channel. And as long as they lay, when you extend this from one to the other, it sticks to it. You can also put you some security glue, as I call it, or my glue insurance, and put that around this edge, and that just gives it a little more added security. Now we got his head glued on. It should look about like that, or you might have the smaller ice cream sticks and maybe use more. But either way, as long as this board is glued to this board, and you got it to where his clothing will come around his body and his head will extend up. That's why it doesn't matter about this board being seen. Now, and I'm going to glue those right there, and that will, when it's setting up, it'll hold him up. So I'm probably going to need 2 of them. That is why I suggested that not only to have your hot glue, but also to have your Elmer's glue. And I'm not going to try to be particular about it. I just want to get it on there. And anything to give it some extra assurance. And they'll give the Elmer's glue time to set up. And I'm not worried about the Elmer's glue like we would the E6000. If you do this to the E6000, it will not adhere correctly. It will just give you a fit. And just kind of look at your board and see which one is the most level side. And the idea here is you want to make sure that it's flush with this down here, and that you, just to give it more of a stable platform, because it will stand up on its own. But I'm feeling like by the time I put his clothes on, the reef, it might get heavy and go outward and tumble over. So to give him that extra little hold, now his weight, so to speak, so the board on him. Okay, guys, I put my extra boards on there, and I actually added me another one just for my own security. They don't have to be this broad. If you have smaller chunks of wood, that will work fine. That like 4x4 would be fine right there. You don't, and hopefully you've put the batteries in them and checked them and make sure if they're working or not. And pretty much just wrap them on to our reef. And so I'm going to wrap these on there. Now, what I would recommend is make sure you put this box somewhere where you can get to it. So maybe start to the inside of your reef first and find you a good spot to lead your lights. And I want these lights on the top because it's not very long a strand. And so they can't, I don't have that many lights. So I'm just going to bring them back around here and situate them. And most of the time when I do that, I have them turned on anytime that I am working my lights. And then that way they're already wrapped on there and looking pretty good. And I will just tie me a piece of wire back there so that my pressure is not being pulled on my wires of my battery pack. And I will conceal that once I get it attached to or placed on the snowman. So what we gotta do is dress our snowman. Okay guys, I have just got to show you this. I've got his clothes on. He is absolutely gorgeous. I love him. He looks so awesome. Look at this. Look at this. I haven't even gotten his wreath tied on, guys. I've just got it sitting there. And I've got the shorts pulled up against him. I took one of my jackets and just wrapped around him. And then I took the buffalo check scarf from Dollar Tree and wrapped around him and just set the wreath there. I haven't even got everything tied on. But he is so gorgeous and he is just so adorable. I am loving him. I am absolutely tickled. And I assure you that, and he still needs like shoes. You're supposed to put like shoes on them, or most everybody has put shoes on theirs. But he's going to be sitting in my rocking chair on the front porch. And I think he's fine just like he is. I don't think I'm going to worry about trying to put some shoes on him. But these are my husband's old work shorts. And the jacket I've got on him is too small for everybody in the whole house, but it fits him fine. Basically, you are going to just place their bottom half into a pair of pants and just kind of roll it and gather it in there. And then, of course, you're just going to bring a shirt or coat or whatever either over their head or around their bottoms. And then I put the scarf up there to, hide where we didn't put the bow back, but it just not necessarily. He's outside, he needs a scarf. And so that just kind of helped camouflage that. And then I just set the wreath there, but it will be up further when I get it tied on. I'm going to take and some floral wire and wrap it around the back side of him and tie it on and then put the scarf back on there to conceal the wire. But just so you can see it, and the wreath is all lit up. But I will take some pictures of it. So guys, we are at the end of this DIY project, the Porch Sitter Snowman, and I certainly hope that you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I certainly hope that this persuades you to. This with family or friends or anyone you think who would enjoy doing DIY projects, and definitely on your social media. Tag me on Instagram or the Facebook group. Come over and join the gang at Dandysoap DIY, and all the links will be in the description below. But tag me if you do this DIY or any of the projects that you do. I would love to see your ideas and definitely make any comments or suggestions. Until the next DIY, this is Elizabeth signing off. You guys have a very Merry Christmas and a glorious, wonderful, crafty day. Bye. Who is our Snowman Porch Sitter. He will take place on my front porch in my rocking chair. He has his pants on, his jacket, and his fleece scarf to keep him warm for the winter. Here is our beautiful wreath we worked on. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's all lit up with lights. And it is wired around his neck, and then the jacket and the fleece scarf are concealing it. So I just wanted to give you guys a front row glance. He is sitting in the stool in here in the kitchen, and he is just beautiful. He is just absolutely adorable, guys. He is adorable. So Fellow, say hey to the gang. Gang, say hey to Fellow. That's going to be his name. So I have created a Facebook group, and it's called Dandysoap DIY. The link is in the comments below. Hop over there so that we will be able to talk to each other and converse outside the YouTube comments. I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. New subscribers, welcome. Current subscribers, thank you. I appreciate you so much. All your comments, likes, and suggestions, they help my rankings. They help me to get noticed, and they get my videos seen. Share them every chance you get, and I certainly hope that you guys tag me or throw it on the Facebook group and show me that you did this DIY or any other DIY that you want to do, including the ones that you view on my channel. You guys, Merry Christmas. Here is my warm heart sending you as much hugs and kisses as I possibly can, saying thank you for everything. And until the next DIY, this is Elizabeth saying, see you later.